Hey, good morning, everyone out there. I'm going to review today for a couple of different ways to tie a bowline and real basic stuff. I've been asked or been told by other people, by everyone has a different way they like to tie it. So I've kind of tried to compile the resources. I think very much I believe so that one bowline for every job is not great, right? If you have to tie a bowline above your head backwards or hanging up, you should know some different options. I can tell you this, when class starts and I get a first student who's never tied a knot before, I teach them to tie a bowline the bunny rabbit method, all right? Give them the fundamentals and the basics. And when they go ahead and get better at that and advance, then we can advance from there and teach them some different ones, but I'll always teach you to tie a bowline starting out with the rabbit method. So what I'll do here is I'll switch the camera up above so you guys can have a downward version, and I'll just cover each one of the versions that I want to show you. What? All right, wrong one. All right. So when we talk about a bowline, and for you guys that have watched my YouTube videos, we've already covered the parts of the line, so we're not going to go over all of that stuff. But so we'll take our line, and one of the things that I teach students to do is to only make their loop the size that they need it to be. I see people make these big giant loops and get confused. So really it's unnecessary to do that. If you want to just make yourself a loop that's going to be the size that you needed to go through, it makes it much easier, right? So I'll bring it up through the hole, right? We talk about that bunny rabbit a lot. Bring it up through that hole, right? Come around the standing part or behind it, which is sometimes referred to as the tree, runs around the tree, and then he runs right back down through the same hole. Now, I see people try to pull their bowlines like this, right? And that can misshapen or possibly slip in your bowline, so that when you're doing that, guys, and you're learning to tie this, I want you to grab these two pieces here, right? And then snug it there, right? And then you can dress it up, right? Make sure that it's nice there. I don't want a bowline that folds over. Sometimes I'll see bowlines that are folded over like that, which is a general indicator that you don't have it set properly. So just take the time, if you have it, just to dress up your bowline, okay? I don't want a bowline that's any less than like maybe a quarter of the eye or the loop, right? I don't want it to be less than a quarter. I conversely am not a fan of having long tails, right? So I generally say I'd like it to be between half, no more than 3/4, right? Somewhere in a half, or right about here, and not less than here for that tail. And I won't address outside bowlines because I don't teach outside bowlines, but I've had plenty of talks with those guys down south, and that's what works for them. So we won't go into that today. But that's just one method, right? If you're gonna take your bowline, make yourself a loop, come up through the hole, right? And a lot of people ask me, like, how do I know how big I'm gonna make my loop? Well, that's gonna be on for you, but I know for me, that in larger line, if I take 2 hands, maybe 3, right? And I lay it out, that's up somewhere in there is gonna be what my tail is. Maybe 3 is gonna be what my tail is gonna be. And then that will determine my loop for me. But sometimes it's just a guessing game, right? And how big you want it to be. You'll get to know after a while. So again, make my overhand, come up through my hole, underneath my standing part, right back down. Important that you pull these two together and then cinch it down, right? I know there's videos, YouTube out there of people that have said that the bowline's unsafe or they've had bowlines fall apart. I've never had a bowline fail. I've never even had a bowline part, and I've been doing this for a while, if it's done properly. But yes, if I leave my bowline like this, obviously I can get it to get jammed up or messed around. If you do it properly and you take the time to dress it up, I could swing that thing all day and it's not gonna come out. So it's really on how you prepare it and how you take care of it, right? And then it also really depends on what kind of you're using. If you're using something slick like polypropylene, you might have a problem with that. It just depends on how you set it, okay? So we talked about that way. There's another method that I could use, which would be the simple overhand knot way, okay? So I just tie a simple overhand knot in my bowline, right? If I bring it out like this, come under, around, and back through. I've used an overhand knot to make myself a bowline, right? So I'll show you that again. I'm just gonna tie an overhand knot in it, okay? It's important that you take this part, rotate it up, come underneath your standing part, and now I have a bowline. Again, I'll show you that method. So I'm gonna just tie an overhand knot, okay? The part of the knot here that is coming out to the working part of the line is the part that you wanna pull out, okay? Again, simple, just under the standing part, right like that. It's another method for tying a bowline, okay? Again, I'll show you one more time. So I'm going to take my overhand knot and simply just pull it up like this, come under the standing part, and there I go. Okay. One method that I am not as good at doing, or one that I don't really use but is useful, and that's the way that there are a lot of people out there that know. It's also the way the Boy Scouts do around their waist, right? And that's where you would grab this and you're gonna basically pull it around like this, bring it underneath, and bring it right back down through. Okay. It's not a method that I use very often, but I know that that's the way that some people learn. So again, if you do it this way, just grab it in my hand, right? Just gonna twist over and create my loop right there, under, around, and back down through. Okay. And I'll show you guys that. So just some different methods to learn that work for, let me get some of this excess out of here. Again, you can take it, this one's facing towards you, right? So you can just bring it around. Okay, you've created the loop and already come through. Bring it this way and right back down through. All right, and then my favorite way is to do what we call a lightning bowline or a quick bowline, and that would be put a tagline around something or make a quick bowline off to something. And so simply what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take with my left hand on the standing part and I'm gonna roll it over the top. I'm gonna bring this part right up through here, and essentially what I've created is a slip knot, okay? And I'm gonna switch hands, and it's really important that when you're doing this, you pull and let go at the same time, right? So I'm gonna pull it, right? Make sure it's all dressed up, and now I have a bowline, right? And I'll show you that again. So, gonna take because I'm right-handed, I'm gonna take my left hand, I'm gonna bring it over the top. Right through here, I've created a slip knot, I'm gonna switch hands, right? And I'm gonna pull and let go at the same time, right? Make sure I dress it up. Good to go. One more time. So again, over, bring this up, switch hands, right? Same time I'm gonna pull, I'm gonna let go. And now I've got myself. You practice that nice and slow for a bunch of times, it will go fast for you when you need it, and it'll work well. All right, guys, I know that there are different ways, people have different methods for doing it, but those are just a couple of ways I wanted to show to my students and give you guys just a clue on how that looks. So thanks. If you guys have any questions, be sure and drop me a message, and we'll talk to you guys later.